lesson in this, and the lesson I keep taking from all of this of how fast everything keeps running, is live every day like it's your best, because they just go so fast. We all want to be here for a long, long time, but we don't know that that's the case. So why not live every single day with such purpose and passion, and being able to just really live into your best life, do your best things, have your most fun, but really make them count. I think that's the lesson I always get from how fast it goes. Many of you know my story. My mum died when I was a teenager. She didn't get to live a very long, happy, best life. She got to kind of do this very, very shortened life. But I wonder what she would have thought had she known that she would have had a short life. I know that's what I take from that is very, very much live my best life, do my best things, and I want you to do the same. So today we're talking about strategies for using EFT tapping to transform those upsetting memories and those upsetting thoughts into empowering lessons. Now, for many of us who have recurring thoughts, stuff that just rambles through our head, we ruminate on things, we have memories because we've had some pretty horrible things happen to us. Even if they haven't been particularly horrible, they've just been bad enough that they have an impact. They're important. You should process those. You shouldn't just discount them, push them away. It's not as bad as somebody else's, so it doesn't matter. It does matter, and you matter. So when you get the upsetting memories and the thoughts that go through, one of the first things people will do is like, just forget about it. Just think about something else. Go and change your thought. Often that's not easy enough to do, particularly when it's come from a trauma space, it's come from an impact of some sort. It's not easy to just go, I'll just change my thoughts. I just won't think that thought anymore. Beautiful idea to do so, but many of us, what we will do is we will bury it down. We will hide those emotions. We will eat our emotions. We will bury it in food, alcohol. There may be smoking involved. There may be gambling. There may be gaming. There's shopping. All sorts of things that change the way we feel. Now, I was once used to call my MasterCard. It was a black MasterCard at the time. And I used to call it Black Magic because it filled shopping bags like magic. And then as I sort of grew up and matured and recognized the language, there was this whole, well, who was going to pay it off? Not that I didn't pay it off, but that would be the inferences, who's going to pay it off? So I had this whole idea of my language around all this money. So if we take it into our troublesome memories, if we take it into the memories that are worrisome and bothersome, what we need to actually do is process them. Now people go, now, well, how do I process them, Lorna? My favorite way is always going to be through tapping. Now let me describe how I would do that. So I have a thought that comes into my head that may be all around. I'll give you a live example. So the thing going through my head is I'm in the process of selling my family home. I've raised my children there. My husband and I live there together. We are no longer together. The home is mine, and I'm now at the stage of selling it. Now, I still have a mortgage on this house, so I need to be able to sell it for a price that's really going to be great for me, because I need to be able to buy something else outright. I want to be mortgage free, so I want to buy a property outright once I sell this great big home. But the thoughts and the memories that come in for me are the worries and the concerns. What if I don't get the price I want? What if I don't find somewhere I want to live? What if and what if and what if? And they come from being in a space where as a child, we weren't wealthy. We were far from wealthy. I came from not necessarily a poor family, but my family struggled. They always struggled for every dollar. They had to work really hard for every dollar. Nothing came easy. We're an immigrant family, so there was no family support behind them. My parents just did it on their own. So for me, the idea of being poor again, or having no money again, and money being a real struggle again, brings up a bit of panic in my body. It really does. I've done a lot of work on it, so it doesn't bring it up anywhere near what it used to, but every now and again there's this little twinge. So this morning when I was here working, coming up through my head was, yeah, but what if, and I hope I'll be okay, and what if, and I hope I'll be okay, knowing where it came from. So what I did with that was I just sat with myself and just, even though I don't feel safe and secure right now, and even though I don't like how I'm feeling, I'm going to know that I'm going to be okay, and this will pass. Even though I know that it's all going to work out, because it always does. I'm going to breathe into this. I'm going to feel this. I'm going to sit with this. And I know that I'm going to be okay. Now, I know with tapping, we would normally go to the even though, and we'll do our statements. Even though I'm stressed and anxious about money, I deeply and completely accept myself. I know that's our standard. But for me this morning, it was more important for me to just stay here and to just breathe with myself, to feel the anxiety or was it anxiety? I don't know if it was anxiety, but it was certainly sensations. That's a better word. Sensations coming up through my chest. I was starting to rise up through here. I had these sensations coming up. And so for me, when those sensations come up, it was like, oh, I don't like feeling like this. So I just did simple tapping like this. So what's going to happen when we have sort of more troublesome memories and things that come up? What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, look at me still tapping. You're going to want to get underneath them. And when I talk about getting underneath them, what you're going to want to do is, if you have a memory that keeps coming up, and it could be about something that happened, I don't know, 3 years ago. If you have something that comes up about something that happened 3 years ago, what you're going to do is you're going to get underneath it. You're going to want to go with yourself and go, so what is it about that thought and that memory? Where did it happen? Who did it happen with? What was I doing? And what was the events of it? Okay. Then when you've written all that down, I want you to look at it again. I want you to ask yourself, what is the story I created around that? So my story was way back as a child. If I don't get the money, and if I don't get the money I want, I'm going to be poor. Clearly not true, but the story I had wrapped around that was, it's all about me. I'm the only person I can rely on. I have no one else to rely on. It needs to work out. That was what was bringing up this feeling. So for you, you've got your upsetting memory. What is the story you are telling yourself about that event? You've written the event down. What is the story? The story is the part that you get to tap on, because the story is about the repeating of the memory. Because the thing that happened to us, it happened the once. That event in that minute happened the once. But when we create a story, we continually add a story to it as we go along. You don't want to add a story to anything, all right? You don't want to add stories to things. But we as humans, that's what we automatically do. So it's the stories you want to get up underneath. So this thing happened, you've got your event, you've got where it happened, who was with you, what was the environment, and then you've got your story. So I don't know, say your story was, I feel inadequate. Say, I don't know what your story would be. I don't feel good enough because that happened. I don't feel I can control my money or look after my money because, you know, I had a bad investment back then. That was one of mine that I dealt with. I had a bad investment. Someone embezzled some of the money that a whole bunch of us had invested into. Didn't go to jail, unfortunately, but so I had this idea that I was not a good steward of money. I was not a good keeper of money because I'd made this investment that someone else had robbed from us all. So I needed to do tapping on that. So that may be I made that decision. And the story I tell myself about that is that I'm not a good steward of money. So why would the universe bring me more money if I don't think I look after it well? I have this whole story running in my head. I have this story. And the story I tell myself about that event is that I'm not good with money. So therefore, why would the universe give me more? Because I'm not good with money. I have this whole story because somebody stole from me that I'm not good with money. Now notice I didn't go tapping on just the whole money thing or the event and stuff. I got into the story, because the story is where you want to start doing some of your work on. So if you've got memories that come up, that's a really, really simplistic way that you can do, is to go and look at those stories and tap on the money. Now, how are you going to transform them into lessons? When I looked at what my money story was around that event, that, you know, I'm not a good steward of money because someone else stole it, what were the lessons in there for me? It was, should I have made the investment in the first place, or should I have done more research? Was there any feelings and sensations in my body when I was doing it that maybe it was my warning system that maybe I shouldn't have progressed? Did I pay enough attention to what was going on with it? So I looked at what the other circumstances were and what the thoughts and things that were going on for me in that situation from a decision that I have made. Now, I understand that for many of us, the upsetting memories are not things that we got to control. It's not an event that we actually got to control. So some of that for you may be when you get to your story, how could I have done it differently? How could I have behaved differently? Is this story actually really true that I have created about myself from someone else having done something to me? Is the story true? Now, I do a lot of work with, trigger warning, sexual abuse survivors in this space, and they are very typical conversations we have because they've had significant events that have happened to them, perpetrated by another person. When we try to look at some of the learnings in there, it's more challenging to find the learnings because of the impact of what actually happened. So there may be times when you're doing some of this work on yourself, you may need to get in touch with someone like me who can actually do work with you. I'm a master practitioner, so I take clients through this sort of work. So just consider that when you're doing your work, you may need to consider working with someone like me for a couple of sessions to just clear some of this stuff, and then you go on your own way. But know that you've got to get underneath, get into that story, and then find out how much the story is true. And that's how we find those empowering lessons from it. I'm not trying to discount that some of the stuff people have had have just been horrific. It really, really has. And yeah, my heart goes out to you, and I send love and light to you for everybody who's been impacted like that. But we can use tapping to help to release some of the restrictions in the body, some of the reactions in the body, some of the stuff that goes on in the body. We absolutely can use tapping to help people move through any sorts of trauma that they've got going on, or even if it's just memories that upset them and bother them and bug them, they can absolutely be worked on and be worked through. So I would love, love, love for you to get in touch with me if that's something that you'd love to do. Now, if you're interested in considering a career with EFT tapping, whether you're going to add it to your existing modalities, many psychologists and counselors and people like that come to get tapping because they recognize that talk therapy is fabulous, but it can often leave people still traumatized, or it can make them spiral. Whereas when we use tapping, we're actually clearing out and shifting and activating the body and deactivating the body where we want it to. So if you're thinking of, as I said, adding it to another business, or you're just thinking about, you know what, maybe I'd love to help other people. Maybe I'd love to work with other people and do what I do and be able to help these people just live a happier, healthier life in so many facets going on here. So I'm going to wish you goodbye. Any questions, send us a direct message. If you want to work with me one-on-one, definitely send me a direct message. Add your comments under the video here in the chat, and I'll have the most wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye.